and you say the Eagles are not close. So many people have said that. Watching the playoffs, the Eagles are not close. The Eagles are not close. The Eagles are not close. They're not close. They are close with Russell Wilson. They're in the conversation with Russell Wilson. They're very close.
Mac guys, McMullen, Jody McDonald here with you on Bird 365. John, with the Senior Bowl this week going on down in Mobile, Alabama, that's drawing a lot of attention. Howie Roseman down there with his staff, and the Pro Bowl being played in Las Vegas. And the Eagles keep adding Pro Bowl guys, but they're also subtracting Pro Bowl guys because, as expected, Jason Kelce decided to bow out. I knew that was coming. If I were a betting man and they had offered odds on that, which, oh, by the way, this week going into the Super Bowl, you'll be able to bet on some of the craziest things you've ever even thought about betting before. One of them was not who's going to actually show at the Pro Bowl or not. I was hoping that Jason Kelce, maybe different people have different ways they look at things. I can be a spin meister here and go, hey, this is good news. Because when Jason Kelce wants to retire, I could see him wanting to go to one last Pro Bowl to have that experience. You never know when your last Pro Bowl is. I'm spinning here, John. I don't know if I'm actually
you're spinning.
Hitting on it.
Yeah.
It's probably more the fact that he is the age that he is and he takes the beating that he does, that he doesn't want to put his body through that again. Only Jason knows for sure, and he's not speaking, but that lends me my next question. When is Jason Kelce going to speak? We've been talking about it for weeks throughout the season, leading up to the end of the season, leading up to the playoffs. Jason Kelce's got a big decision to make, certainly for himself, but it's going to have a major effect on the team. I'd love to just slough it off and go, well, we got the most out of Jason Kelce. He's had a phenomenal career, but, they still need him. They're not the same team when he's not in there.
Well, let me say this, Jody.
At the highest of high levels.
You shouldn't want Jason Kelce to speak at this stage, because if he's speaking, it's going to be Brandon Brooks level speaking, where he's talking to us because he is walking away. I imagine we're not going to talk to Jason until OTAs start, and he's going to be back and he's going to be playing. I think he's going to play another year.
So you think there's not going to be any statement between now and
no, the statement is going to be when the Eagles have to make the decision, and Jason's going to let them know that it's going to be a statement of finances and the fact that they're going to announce a one-year deal. And maybe they'll have Jason talk at that point when he signs his contract for 2022. There's a possibility, but they built into the contract that Jason has to make a decision, in essence, by the start of the new league year, so the Eagles can prepare. So March 16th, you'll know by March 16th at the latest if Jason's going to play this season. And I think he's going to play. If he wasn't going to play, that's when you would have the big send off and the retirement speech. And I anybody can make any decision they want. I hesitate to do these types of things, but in the past, Jason, has more seriously considered retirement. I would phrase it as because maybe he was banged up a little bit more, and the grind got to him a little bit more. And then I really think he had to take a step back and recharge the batteries. Now, he still got banged up this year. That one press conference where he said it's a knee, it's an ankle, it's a foot, everything. And he's playing through. And obviously got hurt late in the season and played the one snap in week 18. It's still a grind for him. But I do, if I'm a betting man, I do think he's going to play next season.
And I'm sorry if I'm being a little intrusive by trying to figure out exactly where he stands and what his statement would be and what his mindset is. But we just went through this with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady isn't even an Eagle. And it was intriguing to me because of the report came out, and then he said it isn't true. And then he did his podcast and said, I'm going through the process. And like 13 hours later, he releases a statement that he's retiring. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit more intrigued by this than I was or should be, just because of all the back and forth and intrigue that the Brady retirement had. And oh, by the way, I'm not comparing Tom Brady to Jason Kelce. I think Jason Kelce is an all-time great center. Tom Brady is an all-time great quarterback. Sorry, just a little above and beyond. But one is a Tampa Bay Buck and the other is a Philadelphia Eagle. So, yeah, we consider and care about Jason Kelce that much more. Don't they get like the greatest swag bag for going to the Pro Bowl? How could Kelce turn that down? Come on, that's like a highlight of anybody's. Yeah, I know. Really
yeah.
not.
Yeah. I forget. Somebody was on recently. Maybe you'll remember. Somebody said they can't even get the guys to go to Hawaii. Forget about Orlando. I think it was Vinny. It might have been Vinny. Vinny Serrato. So yeah, now it's Las Vegas.
Is not a bad fallback position.
Las Vegas.
Orlando didn't work.
No.
Orlando worked for the 5 guys out of the 50 some odd that are going to go down there who've got kids at the perfect age who are going to be able to go to Disney. Otherwise, Orlando isn't the draw that Hawaii and or Vegas is.
No, I would say even Las Vegas isn't the draw Hawaii is. Remember, these guys can go to Las Vegas if they want to go to Las Vegas. So it's not that big of a deal for them. So, it is. The Pro Bowl is what it is. I've always, I probably said this to you before as well, Jody. I do not like all-star games in any sport. And it's ironic to me, but I think in football it's worse. I just don't think the game lends itself to an all-star format, and you can't play it half-ass, 50%. You might get hurt. It doesn't lean itself. But I used to love all-star games when I was young. I used to love the NBA all-star game, the MLB all-star game, and I just don't like any of them. And one day I woke up with an epiphany and I finally got it. I go, all-star games are for kids. That's what they're for. They're not for adults.
No.
It's so let the kids have fun. Let them enjoy the all-star game, seeing a different thing. But yeah, they're dreadful. All of them.
See, that's and I know Vegas has changed as well, but still, if it's for kids, you don't need to have it in Las Vegas.
Well, yeah.
That's kind of an adult city, even though they've attempted to change it over the years and make it more family friendly. It's forever going to be an adult city. So the NFL, if you've got the right read on, which I think you do, then I think the NFL is misplaced it in Las Vegas.
Well, I don't mean live as much as, just the television vehicle, the enjoyment. And I think that's more for kids than adults. But what do I know?
You mean they're not going to be packing the house in Vegas this week for the?
Oh, it'll probably be packed, but there'll be a lot of papering, as they call it in the industry. A lot of free tickets given out around town.
There you go. And I feel the same way about all-star games, the same as you. The only one that I really actually get it, I won't even say I get excited, but I feel the necessity to watch the entire game is the Major League Baseball all-star game, because they actually try. You can't take it's batter against pitcher. No matter what level, no matter the importance of the game, no matter where you go see it, it's batter against pitcher, and that never changes. The NFL game is a borderline joke because they don't play defense. They don't hit. It's like flag football, the NBA, and the NHL. No defense is played whatsoever. At least in baseball, it's batter against pitcher. So the game at its core has to still be competitive. So that's why the only game that I make sure I watch every single bit. I don't even know if I've watched the Pro Bowl on Sunday. I'm sure it'll be on, but I might be doing other things at the time.
Not going to get excited about those historic Pro Bowl moments. I love when they put that. You remember this Pro Bowl moment? No, I don't, NFL. I don't remember any of them.
They showed one on Good Morning Football this morning on the NFL Network. A blowout game they had 10 years ago, something like that. The NFC was killing the AFC. The last play of the game, who scores the final touchdown? And they give you like 4 names. 3 of which were offensive linemen. So you knew that it was going to be a hook and lateral, just keep throwing it backwards type play. And it actually turned out to be Alex Mack, the center, who scored the last touchdown back when he was a member of the Cleveland Browns. Somehow I had forgotten that, John. I don't know how. Alex Mack scoring on the last play of a game
you
is
would
pretty
think.
historic and monumental. Yeah, I had no friggin' clue that was the guy.
Yeah, you would think. I do not remember that, to say the least. I would not have known that in a million years. Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I actually sat and watched the Pro Bowl. Yeah, no interest.
None
No interest in
whatsoever.
that
All
thing.
right, listen, I brought this up before we went to break, and I do want to ask you about it again. Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill here, but Jalen Hurts, who certainly is the constant topic of conversation here on Birds 365 and all your other media outlets here in Philadelphia, because everyone wants to know about quarterback. Who's the quarterback leading up to the Super Bowl? It's going to be all about Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford and how they were put in place, the number 1 overall draft pick, as compared to a team that gave up as much as they did, which, by the way, quick aside, and I'll get to Jalen Hurts, I promise. For those who are contributing our stream here, my call lines on WIP, the Eagles are going to be able to get Russell Wilson for 2 number 1s. They're only going to have to give up 2. They're not going to have to give up all 3. Matthew Stafford, who has not had the career or the resume that Russell Wilson did, cost the Rams 2 1s plus a 3 plus their quarterback to be able to get their hands on Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford is not Russell Wilson. So please, and their ages are very similar, please don't tell me the Eagles are going. No one's going to be. The Eagles can put 2 draft picks together this year. How important do you really think that is? If it is my choice, if I'm the general manager, you can have the 16th and 17th pick of this year's draft, or you can have first-round draft picks for the next 3 years, plus a 3 or a 4 on top. Which am I going to take? I'm going to show a little patience. Give me the quantity, not the quality of, 2 in a row, back-to-back, 1 year immediately.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be very expensive to get Russell Wilson. Those of you who think the Eagles are going to get him for 80 cents on the dollar, you're kidding yourself.
Especially how things are shaping out with Tom Brady retiring. Looks like Aaron Rodgers is not going to be back at Green Bay. So that domino still left the ball. We talked about Sean Payton. NFC is going to be wide open next year. Somebody's going to be desperate, especially in that conference. But people are going to be desperate even in the AFC as well, to try to get in the conversation with the Chiefs and the Bills and now the Bengals. Yeah, I mean, you just nailed it with Matthew Stafford, who's I think a lot more of him than you do. We've talked about him quite a bit. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't think he's Russell Wilson. So, yeah, it's going to cost you a lot, but it's worth it because elevate, man. Look at Joe Burrow. Now, different ways, as you mentioned, there's different ways to do it. They got the number 1 overall pick in a year where there was somebody worthy of it at the quarterback position. I'm talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. The Rams went about it a different way and got the veteran guy. You just needed the pieces around him, and they're both in the Super Bowl. So there's different ways to do it. But if you're going to do it the Rams way, yeah, you got to give up. You got to give up. And I asked Chris Franklin this when you were gone yesterday, Jody. Look, I don't get this league. And I'll ask Randy Mueller this tomorrow if we get around to it, because we got so many things to talk to him about. But people in this league value draft picks like they're gold bars. I don't know. What do you want to describe it, as opposed to the proven commodity in a league where you need the quarterback? I don't get it. Who are you going to get at 15 and 16 and 19? Who do you think these people are? Now, they're more likely to be Jalen Reagor than they are to be Russell Wilson. And then you're going to tell me Russell Wilson's going to be, he was a 3rd round pick. Yeah, Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. There are many different ways, but you're playing the odds. This is a game of odds. And we've seen quarterbacks can elevate teams. And you say the Eagles are not close. So many people have said that watching the playoffs. The Eagles are not close. The Eagles are not close. The Eagles are not close. They're not close. They are close with Russell Wilson. They're in the conversation with Russell Wilson. They're very close to being in the Super Bowl.
I'll play devil's advocate. Seattle stunk this year. They had Russell Wilson. How the hell did that happen?
Well, again, same thing with the Detroit Lions with Matthew Stafford. It's not a guarantee. If you have
the Lions have been bad for 2 decades. Seattle were only a couple of years removed from them winning Super Bowls with Russell Wilson.
Well, yeah, but it's not the same Seattle team. If we know, you've been around a long time, Jody. Sports are cyclical. You gain talent, you lose talent. Look, I'm not saying he can elevate a bad team into being a Super Bowl contender. I'm saying he can elevate a playoff team into a Super Bowl contender. The Eagles were a playoff team. Now we can debate, were they a legitimate playoff team, the extra seed, all that kind of stuff. Bottom line, they were a playoff team. They were over 500 in the regular season. They weren't a bad team. They didn't beat a lot of great teams. We know all the context and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But yeah, if you put Russell Wilson on that particular team, just like you put Matthew Stafford on the Rams, I think you're in the conversation. I'm not going to say you're in the Super Bowl. Too many things have to happen. The Kansas City Chiefs aren't in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes. Nothing's a guarantee in life. I'd rather have Russell Wilson than some slap you-know-what that somebody's talking up in Mobile in February in the rain. Oh, this guy's great. This guy's great. None of those guys are held accountable. I hear so many people are great this time of year. They like to say the draft starts in Mobile. Jody, I say the silly season starts in Mobile. Everybody's great. And then they never revisit it and say, oh, this guy's not that great. This guy's not that great. This guy's not that great. Now, sometimes you do get a great player. Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, on and on and on. I'm not saying it's not worthy of it, but this league is bizarre the way they devalue proven talent against uncertainty.
And I made this point, I think it was here on Bird 365. I know I did it on my WIP shows earlier this week. Now we know the 2 teams that are in the Super Bowl. The Bengals have been a build-it from the draft type team, certainly starting with Burrow. And hey, when you got the number 1 pick in the draft in a year where a college quarterback has had the greatest season maybe in the history of college quarterbacks, it's kind of a no-brainer. Not trying to give the Bengals too much credit here. They made an obvious pick, and oh, by the way, it's paying dividends. Quick dividends. 2 years later, he's got them in the Super Bowl. More power to them. But the Jamar Chase picks, the T. Higgins pick from the year before, the Everton, the kicker pick in the 5th round.
Yeah.
J-Mac, you've been doing this a long time. So have I. How many times have I heard this? How do you use a pick on a kicker? Kickers are a dime a dozen. What the hell are they thinking drafting a punter in the 6th round? How's McPherson doing for them? Oh, all he does is win games for them in the postseason. So the Bengals absolutely did it the right way. They built it up through the draft. They put a couple of key free agent, not big buck free agent, but upgrade, hold down the fort free agents on their defensive line. So their general manager, their organization, did a really nice job of not only building a winner, but building it quickly. 2 years' time, boom, they went from 2-14 to the Super Bowl in 2 years. That's pretty damn impressive. And they did it mostly through the draft. Then you have the Rams, who were not afraid to go, we want to win, and we want to win now. And we do not, like John McMullen say, regard draft picks like bars of gold. If they are the ways to a means to an end, we're going to use them. That's how they got Jalen Ramsey. That's how they got Jared Goff. That's how they got Von Miller. They said draft picks are maybes. And yeah, we may be screwing ourselves because we're not going to have any young players coming in. We're going to have to hit gold in undrafted free agents and the like. That's got to be part of their thinking, that they think their staff is so good that they're still going to be able to find players who are not tabbed in any of the 7th round and be able to bring them in and get them as contributors to the team. But they wanted stars, and they were willing to pay for stars. And oh, by the way, those stars are playing for them. And I think Von Miller could be a key guy in this Super Bowl on Sunday. Certainly the quarterback is. It is very interesting that we have 2 different teams in the Super Bowl with 2 very different philosophies. Which way do you think the Eagles go? If this offseason is an indication of one of the 2, and yeah, it's going to come down to a really simple deduction. Are they going to package at least 2 of those picks for a quarterback? That's what we're going to judge it all by, John, is do they give up those picks to get themselves an upgraded quarterback or not?
Yeah, and I do think it's all, it's always complimentary, because we can look at, offensively, as you mentioned, the Bengals. And oh, by the way, it helps when you're bad for an extended period of time. And you have Joe Burrow, he's number 1 overall, Jamar Chase, who, what was he, number 5 overall? Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, those guys, Joe Mixon, they're all draft picks. They were 2nd-round picks. But remember, when you're bad, those are high 2nd-round picks. So you're hitting on high 2nd-round picks. But then defensively, it was more of a free agency for Duke Tobin. And Trey Hendrickson is the one guy who said, all right, they spent a little bit of money on him, and it worked out really well. So if you think about the Eagles in 2017 and how many times they hit on free agency. Now, he was the splash guy, but the other guys, Awuzie was from Dallas, the corner. He's not a big splash. Von Bell, Eli Apple, Mike Hilton's their best corner. He's a free agent. DJ Reader, they got from Houston as a free agent. These are all the Chris Longs and the LeGarrette Blunts and the Patrick Robinsons that all hit at the same time. So they kind of built the offense through the draft, but they built the defense through free agency. And a couple got Logan Wilson has turned into a really good player as a draft choice early in his career. That was a guy I thought the Eagles should have been on in the 2020 draft, and he's turned into a pretty good player. But for the most part, Jesse Bates as well was a relatively high draft pick, and Sam Hubbard was, I think, a day 2 pick. But for the most part, they built the defense on the free agency part of it, built the offense in the draft, at least the really good core players. And then the Rams, the Rams are different than anybody. And I always say, Jody, look, I always talk about groupthink in this league because I think it's pervasive. And it doesn't matter. You have this whole clash, and we talk about it all the time, the analytics, the new age versus the old school guys. And the analytics guys are taking over, but they still think the same way. Yeah, they all, in their group, you can take over. But if you all think the same way, then it becomes, okay, who does it the best? And they're like, you got to be the best of 32 if everybody's doing it the same way. Now everybody doesn't. And I always like the guys that zag when everybody's zigging. It's always been Bill Belichick. Now it's the Rams. Nobody believes you build a team the way the Rams have built a team. Nobody in this league. But they're in the Super Bowl. And they're not only in the Super Bowl, they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I like teams. I like organizations that think differently. I do.
But then again, the Jag zag when everybody else is zigging too, and they're just a bad.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah, sometimes
right. It's not a given to just be the contrarian and don't do the group thing. It's not a lock for it to work for you, and it has worked for the Rams, but it doesn't work for absolutely everybody. We got off on this topic, and shame on me, because I wanted to talk about Jalen Hurts having surgery, and we got off on quarterbacks and Russell Wilson and blah blah blah. Russ, first of all, he got hurt in the Giant game, which was with 4 weeks left to play. And I get it. They needed him. They weren't about to have surgery then and turn it over to Gardner Minshew. They still believed that Jalen Hurts was their best chance to make the playoffs and then win when they got there. So I'm not surprised they didn't have it immediately. We saw him in the walking boot after the final game of the year. I'd never seen that before. I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a cynic. I said, well, wait a minute. He never needed a walking boot till now. And now they're going to put it out there because he lost a playoff game. Are they trying to absolve him of criticism or it just, there was something that was questionable about it to me. Now that he's actually having the surgery, I have to question myself for wondering about it. But they waited several weeks. Now, at least what's being reported, maybe you got more information than me. It's a minor surgery. It's not major surgery. It's not something that's going to take 6 months. It's something that he'll probably be okay with. And every report has said he'll be good in time for OTAs, which we still got months to wait before we get to. So it's not a major surgery, but why did they wait 2 weeks to get it done if it was necessary? Did he do something that actually made it worse, or were they just leaving everything? They wanted to get away from it all? Or the timing of it still does intrigue me, John. You got any insight to that?
It just the fact that it was what is described. I always love this term, cleanup surgery, a cleanup surgery. So it wasn't a serious surgery. So there was no debate on, we got to get this thing. I get what you're saying. If you got to get this thing done as early as possible so you can be back for the off season. There was no debate on whether he would be ready for OTAs or anything of that. So it wasn't a serious, like tightrope ankle surgery like Lane Johnson has had in the past or anything of that nature. Where then you could start asking why not the timing? My only estimation on that is they wanted to see how the ankle reacted for a couple weeks wearing the boot, to see if he could calm it down a little bit and maybe do rehab, but he wouldn't need it. And they came to the conclusion that now you might as well get it. And that's usually how these things happen. A lot of people, I always, one of those terms where, and everybody says minor surgery. Surgery is never minor to the people getting the surgery, only to other people who say it, who describe it, that aren't getting the surgery. A lot of players, especially younger players, and Jalen's still very young, they don't want to go have surgery if they don't have to have surgery. They don't want their bodies cut open. So you wait and you see how things happen. That's generally how these things work. And then when you don't see the things advancing to where you would potentially want them to advance, you kind of talk them into the surgery, so to speak.
And the reason why I'm nitpicking, and I'm readily admitting that this might be nitpicking, it just doesn't add up. That does bother me. If I can't understand time frame and a timeline, it does get under my skin a little bit. Like we got a response here on the stream. Sometimes they need to let the swelling and inflammation go down. He was hurt a month and a half ago against the Giants. They've been waiting for the swelling to go down for all this time. So he was playing through this whole time. And then they got to tack on 2 more weeks of the swelling to go down before you can do surgery. No, I just don't understand that. And I get it. With the marginal surgery that's going to be done, it's not going to take a whole hell of a lot of time for rehab. But you would like to think that he'll be working on his football skills all the way up till training camp. The Jalen Hurts has areas that he needs to improve in. You know them. I know them. Most Eagle fans know them. And one of the good things about Jalen Hurts is we all have complete faith. Oh, he's going to put the time and effort in. There are some guys that have come through this town over the years where we go, is he really going to work at getting better at his game? No one is asking that question about Jalen Hurts. Everyone believes he is motivated, he is focused, he is the kind of guy who's going to put in the time, the effort, the work, whatever is necessary. You'd like to have that leading into camp, and you'd like to give him as much time as possible to do that. What did he accomplish the last 2 weeks? JM, what do you think Jalen Hurts did these last 2 weeks? If he'd had the surgery shortly after the final game against the Bucs, that just gives him that much more lead up time to be able to work on the things that he still needs to work on and get better. Because as of right now, despite you and I kicking back and forth, how many first round draft picks it's going to cost to get Russell Wilson? They haven't gotten Russell Wilson. The quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles is Jalen Hurts. So we need to stay on top of what Jalen Hurts is doing.
Yeah, I'm not going to kill him for that. I mean, it's, if this were the year, we were talking about before the ankle surgery, is Jalen going to play in the Pro Bowl? How many quarterbacks are going to drop out because he was an alternate? Obviously, he's not going to play in the Pro Bowl. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff he would be doing this time of year. This is he'd probably be at the Super Bowl, as a starting quarterback in the NFL and doing some marketing stuff and all that kind of nonsense. And, people do need to recharge their batteries. And Jalen's going to work harder than most. And then he'll get back to work with his personal quarterback coach that he does every year. And this would have been the downtime anyway. We just talked about it with Jason Kelce as an older player. Man, after an NFL season, you need to recharge your batteries, even if you're healthy. And few people are healthy. And he needed to recharge the batteries, certainly from his ankles perspective. And now that he's getting surgery, and he got the surgery on Wednesday, yeah, he'll be fine. I wouldn't be concerned about Jalen Hurts' work ethic. I will say he's going to work harder than
right.
There's 32 starting quarterbacks in this league. I'm going to put him. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I think he's got a top 10 work ethic. I'm not even concerned.
Yeah, I think he's a top 2 or 3 work ethic guy. So that's why my skepticism is tempered, because I trust Jalen Hurts and his dedication to his position and to make himself better to the degree that I am. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We are your Birds 365 Mac and Mac guys. We still got a half an hour to go. More football talk coming your